Russell Wilson was the biggest disappointment in the National Football League this year. Fair to say?
Yes.
Fair to say. Russell Wilson, the biggest disappointment in the National Football League this year. Dave Helman went on record, and I agreed in saying that Russell Wilson is under more pressure than any other player in football, regardless of what happens this offseason. He's under more pressure. He got $250 million from the Denver Broncos. The Seattle Seahawks, they received first-round picks in exchange for Russell Wilson, and Geno Smith outplayed Russell Wilson. Yeah. Geno Smith going to a Pro Bowl this year. Russell Wilson having statistically his worst season in his illustrious career this year. So now the most important thing really in football this offseason is, can Russell Wilson be fixed? That's the question that everybody has to figure out. Can Russell Wilson be fixed? But get this. If there's one person to fix Russell Wilson, it's Sean Payton. Why do I say that? Jameis Winston, y'all realize, was 5-2 under Sean Payton. Jameis Winston, who in 2019 had 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Then in 2020, he sat out the whole year. Yeah. Then by 2021, under Sean Payton, he went 5-2 as a starter. But forget about Jameis for a second. Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater in 2019 was 5-0 under Sean Payton as a starter. Teddy Bridgewater in 2017 sat out the whole year. Teddy Bridgewater in 2018, he only started one game, but by 2019, under Sean Payton, Teddy Bridgewater 5-0 as a starter. But forget about Teddy Bridgewater. Let's talk about Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill played quarterback at BYU, but he was most known for running. How do we know this? He went undrafted. Green Bay Packers picked him up. But after the Green Bay Packers let him go and Sean Payton gets his hands on him, Taysom Hill 7-2 as a starter. But forget about Taysom Hill. Let's talk about Drew Brees. Drew Brees gets discarded by the San Diego at the time Chargers. Well, Drew Brees didn't pass the test, doesn't go to the Dolphins. Sean Payton gets his hands on him, and just a few years later wins the Super Bowl. And as I mentioned, Drew Brees, a 4-time runner-up for NFL MVP. If anybody can fix Russell Wilson, it's going to be Sean Payton. The second Sean Payton gets his hands on you, whether it be Taysom Hill, whether it be Teddy Bridgewater, whether it be Jameis Winston, and obviously Drew Brees, you have success, the greatest success you've ever had in your career. So Russell Wilson, you needed a magician. And Sean Payton showed up just in time. Dave Helman, let me come to you. You've covered the sport 10 years now. You know more about football than really any person at home that hasn't played the sport for sure. Break this down for me. Sean Payton, Russell Wilson. Can Sean Payton fix Russ?
If anybody can, it should be Sean Payton. And that's why, honestly, it's surprising it took to this point, because I almost feel like Denver didn't have another choice, especially when other candidates that had been here and done that took their names out of the hat. Like maybe you go after an established head coach like a Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn decides to stay in Dallas. Joy's been saying this all season. They needed a guy who had been here and done this, been a head coach. Like this isn't a proving ground for a guy that's never had this type of responsibility, who's never overseen a team, let alone an offense. Sean Payton has the pedigree. I mean, how you just listed off all those accolades when this news just broke. Way to go, buddy. That's amazing. Sean Payton has the pedigree. He's won the Super Bowl. Sean Payton, you could argue, is the archetype for what we look for in an NFL head coach, a successful one. The relationship that he had with Drew Brees to woo him to New Orleans when he was an injured quarterback who maybe hadn't been disappointing in San Diego, but certainly was not the guy that we grew to know. And he brought him in and said, we're going to build this offense around you. We're going to play to your strengths. And we know what happened with the Saints after that. And that, to this day, is what most teams look for. It's like, who is an offensive-minded head coach who can come in, identify quarterback talent, build an offense around the guy, and make him successful? Andy Reid's another one. I'm not saying Sean Payton is the only guy that's ever done this. But Sean Payton was so successsul with such a disaster of a franchise. Let's be honest. I mean, the Saints might not have been long for New Orleans without Sean Payton. And for him, so, I mean, the pedigree speaks for itself. Obviously, we got to see how it plays out. But if there is a man with the pedigree, the confidence, the football mind, and the clout, I mean, think about what Sean Payton will mean to that locker room, to Russell Wilson, to anybody that plays for the Broncos. There's only one or two coaches working in football right now who have accomplished more than Sean Payton. So I almost feel like Denver didn't have a choice, especially when you consider the resources that new ownership group has. When you got Walmart money, you got to swing for the fences, and this is a swing for the fence for sure.
Shady, I'm going to ask you how excited the players should be about Sean Payton arriving in Denver momentarily. But, Joy, what's your initial reaction to this breaking news? Because it is a big deal.
Well, congrats, Coach. This is what happens when you can pick where you want to go. Sure. And it is Walmart money, so they're not going to cry broke. So we're going to get a nice contract, which he deserves. I think this is great news for everyone involved. I think this is a great space for Sean Payton. Outside of what has happened this year, the Denver Broncos are a respected franchise. They're a well-run franchise. This is not a place that we think of as dysfunctional. They have championships. They have standards. Their fan base has standards. They expect to win, and that's a good place to walk into. And Sean Payton has the clout, kind of more importantly, to walk in there. And if it's not successful, we will not lay it at the feet of Sean Payton because, as you mentioned, he has a long resume of production and success with guys that have gone other places and not have that same level of success. So this is the perfect situation for Russell Wilson. How it will work schematically, not sure yet. I'm sure we'll dig into that more throughout the show and over the next few days because Russell Wilson is better off script. But I think that if anybody can find a game plan, design an offense, and put pieces around him to get the best of whatever Russ has left, which, I mean, in my opinion, he still has it. I think this year was a disaster for a multitude of reasons, and Russ wasn't good. But Sean Payton will be the person and is the person and the best person available to fix him. So if you are the Denver Broncos, particularly with what you invested in Russ already, you got to double down. You can't just bail out now. So the picks or whatever, don't even worry about that because at this point, you've already invested so much in Russell Wilson. He's going to be here for so long because of that investment. You had to go out and take a big swing. And I love it.
Shady, you're good at going off script. So because of the urgency of this news, let me keep you off script. Where do you want to take this conversation? What's your initial thought? What's the first thing that came into your mind when you heard of it?
I love it, though. I'm so happy for not only just the Broncos getting a really good coach, elite coach, a proven coach, but for Russell Wilson. Yeah. Like, he finally could get with a coordinator, a guy like Sean Payton that can really teach him, like, the fundamentals. I think we get so blown away by the plays that Russell makes, but he's never really on script. Where Sean could give you both, off script, on script. Now think about this: like all the offenses that he's been a part of, you never really see them have struggles on offense. Taysom Hill, you talk about him with the Bucks. This is where the elite Bucks, and they were having issues with the quarterback position, and he was playing. There's no way they're gonna beat us. They beat him, found a way, running the ball. Keeping the third downs, third and twos, third and ones. Like, having a coach like that, it takes so much stress off the team, off the offense. When you walk, if I'm a player, and I'm going back to, I don't know, a couple years ago, and they tell me my new head coach is Sean Payton, I'm like, oh, for real? You're excited. You get the juices going again. Now you feel good about being a Broncos player again. And they can't wait to get out there and compete against the Chiefs, against the Chargers, because now we got our type of Andy Reid. And Sean Payton, I mean, come on. If you ask for a coach that can really save Russell Wilson, Sean Payton.
Break this down for the viewer at home. When you said our type of Andy Reid, you played under some of the most brilliant offensive minds in the history of the NFL. Now, some lasted longer than others, but say what you will, you're drafted to Andy Reid. Andy Reid's a brilliant offensive mind. Chip Kelly comes in there. You play under Chip Kelly for a couple seasons. We have to give him respect as an offensive mind. We have the #1 offense in Philadelphia in 2013. So we have to acknowledge that. You play under Andy Reid again. You played under Bruce Arians. No risk it, no biscuit. You won 2 Super Bowls there. Sean Payton has Super Bowls in his own right. How excited are the players when they hear about this news, and why does that head coaching position matter?
The biggest thing is confidence. No matter who's up at quarterback, right? Second string, third string, hopefully it's the first string. You have confidence. We got our coach, Andy Reid, like you talked about, Bruce Arians, Sean Payton, that we always will have a chance, right? So if we do stay healthy, and then again, football, people get hurt, people get banged up. It's a contact sport. But we always will have confidence. I think when Sean Payton, if you look at his resume and look at his team, especially with the Saints, I mean, there's games that they won that they shouldn't have won. I even take you back a little bit. So when Drew Brees, we all know Drew Brees has been this superstar quarterback because that's what he really was. But there was a time, right? My last year with the Bucks, we won a championship. Drew Brees was not Drew Brees, but Sean Payton and him found a way to get a game plan where, because Drew couldn't throw the ball deep no more. It was over, right? They would have games where he would come in and play a lot, and then Jameis Winston would come and get some plays. That's a smart coach, right? So our quarterback that's not playing the same level he used to play at, the elite level, he can't throw the ball over, 60 yards, 50 yards, so we're not going deep no more. Finding ways to make a guy like Thomas. People forget about Mike Thomas, right? Michael Thomas was a dog, and I think that he really succeeded in that offense. I could keep going on different players. So now as a player, when I have a coach like that, the confidence out the roof. Now I know I'm going to get my plays. Jerry Jeudy, he know he going to get his. So I'm excited to see what this team looks like.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.